Welcome to Gaslight Therapy. Tonight, we're going to address the uncomfortable, lingering truth that haunts your every mediocre achievement. That faint, sour taste of disappointment that flavors your life isn't coincidence. It's the ghost of your former self, the version of you that actually mattered, looking on in pity. Let's give that ghost a name. Let's call it what it is. You peaked in high school. Feel that? That immediate hot flush of denial. That's your ego scrambling to protect the one story it has left. The story of your potential. But potential is the currency of the future, and your future came and went about the time you were choosing a prom outfit. Everything since has been a long, slow, gentle decline into the comfortable obscurity you've earned. Think about it. When were you truly relevant? When did people know your name? When did you feel the electric thrill of being at the center of your own universe? It was between the ages of 14 and 18. You were a god in a microcosm. The hallways were your kingdom. The football games your coliseum. The gossip your royal decree. Your biggest problems were homework and who to take to the dance. And you were good at it. You mastered the art of social navigation in a tiny, predictable pond. But then you were released into the ocean, and you drowned. The qualities that made you a legend at 17 are the very reasons you're a footnote at 30. Your ability to charm teachers became a knack for brown-nosing bosses who see right through you. Your social popularity transformed into a desperate need for external validation that leaves you perpetually performing for an audience that left the theater years ago. That football trophy on your shelf isn't a memory of glory. It's a tombstone for the last time you ever truly won at anything. You've spent the last decade trying to recapture that feeling. The reunions you get too excited for. The way you still bring up your high school exploits at parties. Watching people's eyes glaze over. You're a retired athlete who only talks about their championship season. But your season ended, and you never realized the professional league had even begun. Your life now is a museum dedicated to a 4-year period. The photos are faded, the trophies are dusty, but you're still the curator, giving tours to anyone who will listen, hoping to convince them, and yourself, that you were once someone important. The tragedy isn't that you peaked in high school. The tragedy is that you never left. Now let's examine the corpse of your ambition. What happened to the person who was going to conquer the world? The one with the big dreams and the unwavering confidence? They didn't fade away. They were suffocated by the sheer mundane weight of adult reality. You discovered that the world doesn't hand out trophies for just showing up. It doesn't care about your potential. It only cares about your output. And your output has been mediocre. Look at your career. That steady job you settled for. It's not a career. It's a hiding place. It's a witness protection program for your former glory. You do the bare minimum. Collect your paycheck and cling to the safety of a system that asks nothing great of you. You traded the thrill of the game for the security of the bench. You're not a player anymore. You're a spectator in a suit. Watching other people who peaked after high school, build empires while you manage spreadsheets. And your relationships, they're echoes of high school dynamics. You're still trying to find your place in the cafeteria, only now it's called a networking event or a neighborhood barbecue. You seek out people who make you feel like the popular kid again, or you cling to friendships that should have naturally faded. Because they're living relics of the time when you mattered. You're trying to recreate a social hierarchy that stopped existing the day you got your diploma. Your entire mindset is fossilized in adolescence. You approach challenges like a teenager, with a combination of arrogance and fragile ego. When faced with real difficulty, you don't persevere. You get defensive. You blame the system, your boss, your bad luck, just like you blame the teacher for the bad grade. You never developed the resilience of an adult because you never had to. The moment life demanded more than charm and minimal effort, you folded. The world moved on. It demanded skills, not social status. It valued creation over consumption. It rewarded those who could adapt, learn, and grow. And you stayed exactly where you were, polishing the trophies from a competition that everyone else forgot was even happening. You're a living monument to a victory that stopped mattering the moment the real war began. And the most pathetic part, you're the only one who still visits the monument. Let's talk about your nostalgia, that warm, hazy filter you use to color the past. It's not a harmless fondness for memory, it's a drug. It's the opiate you use to numb the pain of your present insignificance. You don't just remember high school. You worship it. You've turned a 4-year period of gym classes and cafeteria food into a golden age, a mythological era where you were a hero. This isn't reminiscence, it's a retreat. When the pressures of adult life become too much, the bills, the responsibilities, the terrifying freedom of building a life from scratch, you don't step up. You check out. You open the mental photo album and disappear into a time when your biggest existential crisis was a pimple on picture day. You're an emotional time traveler, fleeing a present you can't handle for a past you've grossly idealized. Think about the music you still listen to, the movies you rewatch. They're all from that era, aren't they? They're safe. They require no new emotional or intellectual investment. Engaging with new art means risking that you might not understand it, that it might not resonate. It means admitting that culture has moved on without you, so you stay in your cultural bubble, a living relic, while the world creates new anthems for a new generation. You're not preserving your youth, you're embalming your curiosity. This extends to your sense of humor. You're still telling the same jokes that killed in the 11th grade. The references, the sarcastic asides, they're all dated, landing with a thud among adults who have evolved. You're a comedian working with last decade's material, wondering why the room has gone quiet. You became a parody of yourself, and you're the only one who doesn't get the joke. Your nostalgia is a cage. It prevents you from forming new, meaningful connections based on who you are now, because who you are now is just a faded photocopy of who you were then. It stops you from building a present worth being proud of, because you're too busy curating a museum for a past that's long dead. You are haunted by the ghost of your own adolescence, and you're the one keeping it on life support. Let it go. The world you're so desperately clinging to doesn't exist anymore. The only thing you're preserving is your own irrelevance. Let's dissect your relationship with learning, or more accurately, the corpse of it. In high school, learning was a passive activity. Information was served to you on a platter. You were told what to read, what to memorize, what would be on the test. You learned just enough to get the grade, to meet the minimum requirement for the next level. And then you graduated and you closed the book permanently. You treat your brain like a graduated senior. It's done its time, it's put in its years, and now it's retired. You haven't actively learned a new, challenging skill since you were forced to. The curiosity that once flickered, however weakly, has been completely extinguished by the damp blanket of your comfort zone. You consume information, yes, gossip, trivia, sports statistics, but you don't integrate knowledge. You don't wrestle with complex ideas. Your mind has gone soft from disuse. Look at the books on your shelf if you have any. They're either old assigned readings from your glory days, or they're pure, undemanding entertainment. You don't read to be challenged, you read to be comforted. You've chosen intellectual junk food over mental nutrition for so long that your brain wouldn't know what to do with a substantive idea if it hit you in the face. It would reject it like a bad organ transplant. This intellectual stagnation is why you're stuck. The world is evolving at a blinding speed, and you're using a mental map from 2005. New industries are born, new technologies emerge, new ways of thinking are required, and you're still trying to solve today's problems with yesterday's outdated toolkit. You're trying to fix a supercomputer with the knowledge of a clockmaker. The people who peaked after high school are the ones who never stopped being students. They embraced the humbling, often frustrating process of being a beginner again and again. They understood that a diploma wasn't a finish line, it was the starting block. You, however, mistook it for a retirement certificate. You decided you were done learning, and in doing so, you signed the death warrant for your own relevance. Your mind is not a vault of treasured knowledge. It's a storage unit for obsolete facts, and you're still paying rent on it. Let's talk about your physique, that once temple you've let crumble into a ruin. In high school, your body was a weapon, a tool, a source of pride. It could run, jump, and recover with effortless grace. It was a symbol of your vitality, a visible representation of your place in the pecking order. But that was then. Now look at it. That isn't a body. It's a monument to your own neglect. The muscle tone has been replaced by a comfortable softness. The energy has been supplanted by a permanent, low-grade fatigue. You've traded the athletic field for the couch, the weight room for the snack cupboard. You tell yourself you're too busy to exercise, but the truth is, you're too lazy. You've chosen the path of least physical resistance for so long that your body has forgotten what it feels like to be truly alive, to be pushed, to be capable. This isn't just about aesthetics. This is about capability. Your body is no longer a reliable instrument. It protests when you ask it to climb a flight of stairs. It aches after minor exertion. It has become a source of limitation, not liberation. You've allowed the very vessel that carries you through life to decay, and you've accepted this decline as an inevitable fact of aging. It's not. It's a choice you make every time you take the elevator, every time you drive instead of walk, every time you choose processed convenience over real nourishment. You're not getting older, you're getting softer. You're letting your physical potential rust away from disuse, just like your mental potential. The confident stride of your youth has been replaced by a resigned shuffle. You've become a spectator in the arena of your own physical existence, watching from the stands as your body slowly, steadily gives up on you. And you're just letting it happen, because the effort to change it feels too much like the hard work you've spent your entire adult life avoiding. Let's examine your social circle, or should I say, your high school reunion that never ended. Look at the people you surround yourself with. They are, almost without exception, the same faces from your yearbook. They are living, breathing security blankets, a curated collection of people who remember you when you were somebody. They are accomplices in your collective delusion that the best years are behind you. These relationships are not based on growth, challenge, or mutual evolution. They are founded on a shared nostalgia, a tacit agreement to never push each other beyond the comfortable confines of who you were at 18. Your conversations are archaeological digs into the past, endlessly unearthing the same old stories, the same old glories, because the present offers nothing worth discussing. You are a support group for the stagnant, validating each other's decline with a knowing, weary sympathy. When you do meet someone new, someone who actually built a life after their diploma, you feel a deep, unsettling sense of inadequacy. Their stories of travel, career pivots, and hard-won adult triumphs highlight the emptiness of your own narrative. So you retreat, You scurry back to the safety of your old friends, where you can be the big fish in a small stagnant pond. You have built a social moat around yourself, and you've filled it with memories to keep the threatening waters of real, challenging adulthood at bay. This isn't loyalty. This is fear. You are terrified that if you let go of these human anchors to your past, you will have nothing and be nobody, so you cling, ensuring your social world remains as small and predictable as your ambitions. Your friends aren't your cheerleaders. They're your fellow inmates in a prison of your own making. And you're all serving a life sentence, reminiscing about the few minutes you spent in the exercise yard decades ago. Let's talk about your risk aversion, the deep-seated terror that has governed every safe choice you've made since you turned 20. In high school, you took social risks daily, asking someone out, trying out for a team, wearing something daring. The stakes felt immense, but they were laughably small. The price of failure was a bruised ego for a week. You were playing with monopoly money. Then you entered the real world, where the currency is time, livelihood, and reputation, and you froze. The sheer scale of potential failure paralyzed you, so you made a silent vow never to be that vulnerable again. You would never risk a failure that truly mattered. Look at your career path. You took the job with the clear, predictable ladder, not the one that sparked your passion, but seemed uncertain. You chose the stable relationship over the thrilling, unpredictable one. You bought the sensible car, live in the sensible neighborhood, and have a sensible savings account that will never, ever be enough to fund a life of anything but sensible mediocrity. You have conflated safety with living, and in doing so, you have chosen a slow, comfortable death over the chance of a spectacular life. This isn't wisdom. This is cowardice wearing the mask of prudence. The people who create remarkable lives understand that calculated risk is the engine of growth. They know that the pain of trying and failing is temporary, but the regret of never trying is a permanent resident in your soul. You, however, have outsourced your courage. You let it expire with your student ID. Your entire existence is now a monument to what if. What if you had started the business? What if you had moved to the new city? What if you had learned the skill, but you didn't? You chose the path of least resistance, and it has led you directly to the dead end of your own sensible choices. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a volunteer. You enlisted in the army of the mediocre, and you report for duty every single day, too afraid to go AWOL and actually fight for the life you once dreamed of. Let's talk about your authority problem, or more precisely, your transition from being a subject of authority to a failed master of your own domain. In high school, the hierarchy was simple, clear, and external. Teachers, parents, coaches, they held the power. Your role was to navigate, rebel against, or comply with that structure. You were an expert at working within a system that was designed for you. But adulthood doesn't come with a syllabus. There is no principal's office for life. The moment you graduated, you were ejected from the passenger seat and expected to grab the wheel. And you've been swerving ever since. You never learned to become the authority. You never developed the internal discipline to be your own teacher, your own coach, your own principal. You're still waiting for someone to give you the assignment, the deadline, the rules. In the absence of that external structure, you've created a vacuum. And into that vacuum has rushed chaos, procrastination, and a profound lack of direction. Look at your finances. No one is there to tell you not to spend too much on takeout. Look at your health. No coach is blowing a whistle at you for skipping the gym. Look at your career. No teacher is giving you a failing grade for your mediocre performance. You are adrift in a sea of freedom, and you are drowning in it, because you never learned to build your own boat. You resent your boss because you secretly wish he would just tell you exactly what to do, like your teachers did. You resent paying bills because it feels like a punishment from a parent you can no longer rebel against. You are an actor who only knows how to perform when there's a director, and now you're on a stage with no script, no director, and a spotlight that feels like an interrogation lamp, exposing your complete lack of original thought or initiative. You peaked in high school because that was the last time the world gave you a map. You were a master map reader, but the world ran out of maps, and it demanded you become a cartographer. You were given a blank page and told to draw your own future, and you've been staring at that blank page for years, paralyzed, waiting for someone to come along and draw it for you. They're not coming. The pencil has been in your hand the whole time. You just lack the courage to make the first mark. Let's talk about your arrested development, the way your emotional growth stalled the moment you walked off that graduation stage. You are, in many ways, a teenager trapped in an adult's body, wielding an adult's responsibilities with the emotional maturity of a high school junior. Your conflict resolution skills are a perfect example. When faced with disagreement or criticism, you don't engage in mature, solution-oriented dialogue. You either shut down with a sulky silence, exactly like a moody teen sent to their room, or you lash out with passive-aggressive comments and subtle digs. You never learn to separate your ego from the issue at hand. Every critique feels like a personal attack on the popular kid you once were, and you defend that ghost with the same irrational fervor. Your relationship with instant gratification is another fossil from your youth. You want results now, just like you wanted a good grade after cramming the night before. You lack the emotional fortitude for the slow, often boring process of building something meaningful. A diet must show results in a week, or you quit. A side hustle must make money in a month, or it's a failure. You are emotionally incapable of playing the long game because your sense of self-worth is still tied to the immediate feedback loops of the classroom and the social scene. This emotional stunting is why you're so susceptible to nostalgia. It's a regression, a retreat to a time when your emotional landscape was simpler, even if it felt complex at the time. You're not yearning for your youth. You're yearning for a time when your emotional responses were, in your mind, appropriate to the challenges you faced. Now the challenges are immense, and your emotional toolkit is filled with plastic toys. You're trying to build a skyscraper with a child's wooden blocks, and you're bewildered by the constant collapse. The world expects you to have the emotional framework of an adult, but you never built it. You're still living in the emotional treehouse of your adolescence, and it's crumbling under the weight of a life it was never designed to hold. Let's talk about your relationship with ambition, or rather, its funeral. In high school, ambition was a loud, brash, and simple thing. You wanted to be class president, the star athlete, the lead in the play. These were clear, defined goals with visible rewards and a clear path to achievement. It was ambition on training wheels. Then you entered the real world, where ambition is a quiet, complex, and terrifying beast. It requires you to set your own goals, define your own success, and walk a path with no signposts. This kind of ambition demands a level of self-awareness and resilience you simply never developed. So you did the easiest thing possible. You declared ambition dead. You buried it in a shallow grave and told yourself you were content with a simple life. But you're not content. You're defeated. There's a profound difference. Contentment is a peaceful acceptance of what is, born from a place of wholeness. Your contentment is a surrender born from a place of fear. You've chosen to live in a small, dimly lit room of your own potential because you're terrified of the vast, dark, and uncertain landscape outside. You traded the possibility of a magnificent view for the security of 4 familiar walls. You look at truly ambitious people with a mixture of disdain and secret envy. You call them workaholics or obsessed, dismissing their drive as a character flaw because it's easier than confronting your own lack of it. You've created a whole philosophy around the nobility of the simple life to justify your own retreat from the battlefield. But this isn't wisdom. It's the rationalization of a soldier who deserted before the first shot was fired. Your ambition didn't die a natural death. You euthanized it. You saw the sheer effort it would require to build a legacy rather than just rest on the laurels of a faded teenage reputation. And you made a conscious choice to pull the plug. You are not a peaceful soul who has transcended the need for achievement. You are a scared one who opted out of the race and now stands on the sidelines, telling yourself you never wanted the trophy anyway. The truth is, you wanted it more than anything. You just weren't willing to pay the price. You have allowed yourself to sit in the profound discomfort of these truths. You have let these accusations land, not deflecting them with your usual arsenal of excuses. That act alone, that willingness to listen, to feel the sting, is the first real adult courage you have shown in years. It is the spark, and from this spark, a new fire can be lit. Let's pause the autopsy. Let's stop dissecting the corpse of your former self and consider a radical, terrifying, and liberating possibility. What if your peak wasn't a peak at all? What if it was just the first small hill in a mountain range you never dared to explore? The qualities you possessed at 17 were not the problem. Your social confidence, your energy, your ability to navigate a complex world. These were not flaws. They were raw materials. The tragedy is not that you had them, it's that you stopped refining them. You mistook the tutorial level for the entire game and walked away from the controller. That lingering feeling of being meant for more isn't a ghost. It's a compass. It's the most honest part of you. The part that never agreed to the life sentence of mediocrity, screaming that the verdict was wrong. This restlessness is not a curse. It is your potential demanding to be acknowledged. It is the engine of your life, and you have been trying to drive with the emergency brake on. The narrative of peaking in high school is a story. A compelling one, yes, but a story you have been telling yourself. And the most powerful thing about a story is that you can choose to stop reading it. You can close that book and pick up a blank one. The author's name is your own, and the first chapter begins today, not in a nostalgic past. This is not about recapturing your youth. That is a fool's errand. This is about something far more powerful. Integrating it. You are not that teenager anymore. You are that person, plus every failure, every lesson, every scar you've collected since. You have a depth of experience, an understanding of consequence, and a capacity for resilience that your 17-year-old self couldn't even comprehend. That young person had passion without wisdom. You now have the potential for wisdom. The goal is not to go back, but to forge ahead, combining the embers of that old fire with the hard-won fuel of your experience. The best is not behind you. It is waiting for you to finally accept that you are the one who gets to decide when and if you ever truly peak. The summit is not a memory. It is a choice. The narrative you've believed is a cage, but the door has been unlocked all along. The story of peaking in high school is not a life sentence. It's a chapter, and you are the author. It's time to write a new one. not by trying to relive the past, but by building a present so compelling it makes your past self look like a rough draft. The solution is not to resurrect the teenager, but to finally build the adult that teenager had the potential to become. This is not about regaining lost glory. It's about forging a new identity based on creation, not nostalgia. It's about shifting your focus from being remembered to being relevant. Your path forward is built on 3 pillars. Become a curator, not a custodian of your past. Your high school memories are not a museum you need to tend. They are data. Look at them with curiosity, not worship. What did you genuinely enjoy about that version of yourself? Was it the social connection, the creative expression in drama class, the thrill of competition? Identify the core feeling, not the specific activity. Then find an adult way to cultivate that feeling. Join a recreational sports league. Take an improv class. Find a mastermind group. You're not trying to be the quarterback again. You're trying to feel the thrill of teamwork and competition in a new context. Embrace the beginner's mind with a vengeance. Your ego is terrified of being a novice because it shatters the illusion of the peaked expert. You must shatter that illusion yourself. The most vibrant, alive people are perpetual beginners. Your mission is to intentionally become a beginner at something now. Learn a language on Duolingo, take a pottery class, try a form of exercise you've never done. The goal is not mastery, it's to reactivate the neural pathways of learning and growth that have atrophied. The humiliation of being bad at something is the price of admission to a new world of competence. Pay it gladly. Redefine your arena. Your arena is no longer a football field or a school hallway. Your arena is your life. Your craft is your career, your relationships, your health, your mind. Stop looking for applause from a crowd that disbanded years ago. Start measuring your success by internal metrics. The quality of your work, the depth of your connections, the strength of your body, the peace in your mind. Build a life that feels like a victory to you, not to the ghost of your senior class. You have been comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel for years. It's time to stop watching the reruns and start directing your own movie. The person you are meant to become isn't waiting for you in a yearbook. They are waiting for you to take the first, small, courageous step into a future where your greatest achievements are not behind you, but ahead of you. The peak isn't a place you've been. It's a place you're building, one intentional choice at a time. Start building. You are not a faded photograph. You are a living, breathing story that is still being written. That tightness in your chest when you think about your past. That isn't regret, it's potential energy. It is the immense, untapped power of the person you are capable of becoming, pressing against the walls of the person you have been. This discomfort is not your enemy, it is your awakening. For years you have used your past as an anchor, holding you safely in the harbor of mediocrity. But an anchor is not a home. It is time to pull it up. You are not meant for safe harbors. You are meant for open seas. The storms you fear are the very experiences that will teach you to sail. The vast, terrifying horizon is your birthright. Look at how far you have already come. You have listened to the hardest truths about yourself and you did not break. You are still here. That is not the mark of a person who has peaked. That is the mark of a warrior. You have been in a long, quiet battle with your own self-doubt, and you are still standing. That is your greatest victory, and it has equipped you for everything that comes next. The world does not need the 17-year-old you. The world needs the you that is rising right now. The you that has been humbled by life. The you that understands struggle. the you that possesses a depth of compassion and resilience that your younger self could never have imagined. This version of you is not a downgrade. It is a massive upgrade. You have been given the software update, but you have been afraid to install it. Your past glory was a single, simple melody. Your future is a symphony. It will have movements of quiet determination, crescendos of hard-won success, and harmonies of deep, meaningful connection. It will be complex, rich, and uniquely yours. Stop trying to replay the old jingle and start composing your masterpiece. From this moment forward, your mantra is, my past does not define my capacity. My present is my power. My future is my creation. You have everything you need within you. The same spirit that once charged onto a football field or commanded a stage is still there. It is not gone. It has simply been waiting for a worthy challenge. Adult life is that challenge. It is the ultimate game, and you are now ready to play. So take a deep breath. Feel the strength in your lungs and the fire in your heart. The second act of your life is beginning, and it will make the first act look like a pre-show. You are not past your prime. You are just getting started. Now go out there and build a life so vibrant, so full of purpose and passion, that the person you were in high school would be in awe of the person you have become. This is not the end of your story. This is the end of the prologue. The final page of the first short, awkward book titled Who I Was. You are now holding the pen, and the blank page of Who I Am Becoming is waiting. The belief that you peaked in high school was a cage, but you were the one holding the key the entire time. You have now unlocked it. Look at what you have just done. You faced a brutal, uncomfortable truth, and you did not look away. You let it wash over you. You survived it, and in that survival, you found something you thought was lost forever. Your own strength. That is not the act of someone whose best days are behind them. That is the act of a warrior preparing for a new campaign. The campaign for your own soul. Your past was not your peak. It was your training ground. Every social victory, every failure, every moment of angst and joy was preparing you for this moment. It was giving you the raw materials, resilience, social intelligence, the capacity for joy, to build a life of purpose. You were not meant to live in that training ground forever. You were meant to graduate and march into the real war, armed with the lessons you learned there. The person you are now is infinitely more powerful than the teenager you remember. You have depth. You have scars that have taught you compassion. You have failures that have taught you wisdom. You have a clarity about what truly matters that your younger self could never have comprehended. You are not a faded version of that person. You are an upgraded, more complex, and far more interesting model. From this moment forward, your life is not about recapturing a feeling. It is about creating a legacy. It is about building something that outlasts you. Your new peak is not a single moment of glory on a field or a stage. It is a mountain range of consistent daily choices. The choice to learn, the choice to grow, the choice to be kind, the choice to build. The summit is not a destination you arrive at. It is the ground you stand on every time you choose courage over comfort. You are the architect of your own relevance. You decide what your peak is, and you can decide that it is always today. That the best version of you is not a memory, but a constant, evolving target. You are not falling from a peak. You are climbing a mountain that has no top, and the view gets more breathtaking with every single step. So go, build, create, connect. Forgive your past self for not knowing what you know now, and thank them for getting you here. Your story is not a tragedy of decline. It is an epic of becoming. and the most exciting chapters are still unwritten. Your ascent starts now. This was just the beginning. The real work, the daily practice of building a life you're proud of, happens in community. Don't let this momentum fade. Subscribe to Gaslight Therapy. Let this channel be your base camp. Your weekly source of ruthless truth and empowering mindset shifts to fuel your climb. Join a community of people who are done living in the past and are actively building legendary futures. You have the map. You have the strength. Now, claim your community. Hit subscribe, and let's climb this mountain together. Your true peak is waiting.